Good afternoon. This is a special highlights presentation that we're doing to let the citizens of Littleton know that there are several real estate tax exemptions for people 65 and older, and we want to get some information out so that more people can come and talk and maybe qualify to get some help on their taxes. And this morning, I have a guest. His name is Steve Venuti. He's the chairman of the Finance Committee, and he's a longtime treasurer of Littleton, and most people know him as Steve, and he's doing a wonderful job and trying to retire, but we're just sort of not letting him because he's so good. So good morning, Steve, and how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me to this. You know, a lot of these programs that we have, you and I dealt with a lot of these, you in your assessor role and me in the treasurer role. So a lot of these things are familiar to us. So
right. And
get right into
unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it. So
exactly.
We're trying to make it better for everybody. So a variety of exemptions are available to qualifying taxpayers: elderly, blind, disabled, surviving spouse, orphaned children, veterans, in order to provide tax relief. And those exemptions are senior exemption, blind exemption, deferral of taxes, surviving spouse for a senior, senior work program, veterans work program, veterans exemptions for the disabled, and the CPA exemption.
Now, all of these programs are going to have different qualifications for them. It's basically for seniors, and there's income limitations on each of these.
On quite a few of them, yes, there is. So it's something that we're getting out here as a start, and then we will be having coffees, and we will have a dinner on October 19th from 5 to 7 in the multipurpose room, where this presentation will be given again, and we will have people from the assessor's office there to answer questions. So let's kick it off and see how we do here. The first one is a senior exemption. It reduces your property tax liability if you're 65 or older. And the income and assets you must qualify for each year changes because there's a cost of living adjustment. So the limit this year for your income would be $23,111 if you're single, and if married, $34,665. The asset requirement is $45,582 for a single and $56,978 if you're married. And this does not include your house value. And the documentation that's required is a copy of your Social Security earnings for the previous year, a copy of a bank account, pensions, stocks, bonds, and certificate of deposit in your birth certificate. And the duration of ownership, you must be owner and occupied of the property in Massachusetts for 5 years. The duration of domiciliarity, I don't like that word, is in Massachusetts in 10 consecutive years before you apply for an application. You must apply as of July 1, 2023, and owned the property in Massachusetts for 5 years.
And a lot of these programs, Anita, the person has to reapply with the assessor's office each year.
Every year.
Right? And all these programs that we're going to talk about, you go to the assessor's office to put your initial application in. Is that true?
That's true. However, if you're having trouble or it's hard for you to fill out applications, you can call the COA and they will make an appointment with you, and they'll get the application from the assessor's office and they will help you fill it out. We just want to make sure that everybody that can get it gets it. So if you get the application and you find it difficult to fill out, anybody in EHS will help you fill it out. we have people there to
That's
work
good.
with you.
We're trying to make this process as easy as possible. for
As
people.
easy as possible.
Good.
And when I name the things that you have to show when you come in for the application, all of that is completely confidential. And only the person that is helping you fill out that application is the only one that sees that. So don't be concerned about that, because it's not something that goes all over the offices. It's just stays in the assessor's office, and that's it.
There's another program for the blind exemption. It's called Clause 37A. And the exemption provides $500 to $1,000 off your property tax bill. You have to provide verification of blindness from the Mass Commission for the Blind or from your physician. You must be, again, a legal resident of Massachusetts and occupied your house as of July 1st of the tax year. And the first year is $500 exemption and $1,000 every year thereafter. Another program, and this is a big one that we've done in the past, and we made improvements to this program, is the deferral of taxes. It's Clause 41A.
This is big.
And this is something that Anita and I have worked on, and again in our former roles as assessor and town treasurer. I forgot what I was.
As you've been doing it for so long.
Under this clause, seniors 65 and older who meet certain income and other requirements can defer all or part of their property taxes. Gross receipts from all sources must not exceed $55,000. And the most important thing is the interest on any deferred taxes accrues at only 1% until the taxpayer sells the property or unfortunately passes away.
That's amazing, at 1% for deferral, because isn't it, if you can't pay your taxes and you get into a problem,
16%.
it's 16%.
And it was if it wasn't 16% on this program a few years back, it was pretty close to it. It may have been 12. But the town meeting voted a few years back to decrease the interest rate to 1%.
Which is an amazing savings, because that 16%, when your tax bill is due in 30 days, on the 31st day, that 16% kicks in. Correct? And that goes until the bill's paid. So this is a great deal. And it's cool that you don't have to defer all of your tax. You can do just part of your tax.
Okay. And as long as the total, and this is a big point, as long as the total taxes that are deferred aren't 50% of the assessed value of your property, you can continue on in this program. Again, it's something that needs to be applied for each year. And this is an example, and I like numbers, so there's a lot of numbers here, but the numbers aren't really important. It's the interest column. So if we look at right in the middle of that screen where it says interest, 1,088. So this is a person who's deferred 7 years of taxes so far. Total taxes of $35,661. The interest charge on that is only $1,088 because it's at 1%, and 1% is added to each of those fiscal year buckets each year. So you can, if you look at FY18 going across, $109 first year, $129, which is a 1% increase, $149, which is another 1% added to it. If this was back outside of this program in a regular tax title situation where somebody's not paying the taxes, that would be 16 times that $1,000. So instead of $1,088, it would be well over $16,000. So the total bill, instead of being $36,749, would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $51,000.
And the thing is, I know that there are people who are applying for the TREAD program because they have very little income and they have these tax bills that come every year. And the TREAD program tries to help every year for these people. But when you look at this program, you can defer your taxes and you can live in your house. It's not like a reverse mortgage or anything else. You just defer your taxes, and then when you sell your house, the estate pays it back.
Correct.
And
And the only thing with this, again, to protect the town, a lien is placed on the property so that when that sale at the end does happen, the town is able to recoup not only the back taxes, but also the interest that's been accrued on it. But other than that, it's again, just like all the other programs, you have to apply for it each year at the assessor's office. The due date is December 15th, or 3 months after a tax bill is mailed. So you could, in the first year, have already paid your first and second quarter taxes, and you're starting your deferral on quarter 3, and you do each year after that. So as long as you can meet those due dates and come into the assessors, you'll be okay. The applicant may be a sole owner or owned jointly with the spouse. You must have owned and occupied the property or any other Massachusetts property for 5 years, and you must have lived in Massachusetts for 10 consecutive years.
And that's not really a whole lot to have to meet in order to be able to stay in your house and feel safe, because it's so hard if you lose your house to try to find someplace else to live, because there's nothing there, and chances are if you move into a condo or somewhere, you're going to pay more than if you were staying in your house.
And the requirement, and there's only an income requirement of $55,000 per year. So if your income is under $55,000 and you're 65 and over, you can apply for this program. Documentation is a copy of Social Security earnings for the previous fiscal year, bank accounts, stocks, bonds, CDs, and we need a birth certificate for first-time applicants only. The deferral and recovery agreement is entered between the applicant and the assessors. It covers taxes for all fiscal years in which the taxpayer applies for deferral. And again, it's recorded at the Registry of Deeds and constitutes a lien on the property.
So that's something that you really should look into. Okay, we also have a surviving spouse, a senior clause 17D, and this exemption reduces your property tax if you're 70 years or older, and it would reduce it $175 the first year and $350 the second year and every year thereafter. And this exemption is, again, for 70-year-old surviving spouse or a minor whose parent is deceased. There is no limit to your income, and the assets limit is $40,000. So you cannot have more than $40,000 in assets. Does not include your house. And you must have owned and occupied the property for 5 consecutive years, and again, a copy of your Social Security earnings in your bank accounts, and your birth certificate for the first year is required. The next exemption is your senior or veteran work-off program. This is a huge success in Littleton. I know right now we have over 100 seniors. I don't know what the total veterans are this year that have signed up, but we have 100 seniors.
That's excellent.
In the program right now. And what it does is this reduces your property tax for veterans or seniors in exchange for volunteer service to the municipality. And believe you me, the municipality really appreciates the work that the volunteers do. So the assistance amount is the $1,500 max abatement, or 124 hours of work. The hourly rate for services is the Massachusetts minimum rate, and the abatement is given as a credit against the tax base on the hours worked. And the veterans exemption is similar, but veteran exemption is for a veteran with 10% or greater disability. And the amount of this exemption ranges from $400 into a full exemption depending on which clause you're in. There are several veterans exemptions. The 22 is, first year you get 400, and after that it's 800, and that's for a 10% disability. Now, if you're 100% disabled, the first year you would get $1,000, and every year thereafter you would get $2,000. And both exemptions, you have to get a letter from the military that states the disability and what it is. We have several people getting the 10%. I think there's 45 people that are getting the 10%.
Oh.
And I'm not sure what the 100% disability number is at the moment. And for these, you can go to the veterans agent in Littleton, his office, you can go to the assessor's office, or again, you can go to EHS, and any one of them can help you. You must be domiciled in Massachusetts for 6 months prior to, or lived in Massachusetts at least 2 consecutive years before this program starts. You must own and occupy your property. And these are the different veterans exemptions. You can have one for loss of limb and or eyesight, loss of use of both limbs and eyesight, total disability requiring affordable housing, widow of a soldier killed in action, the 100% disabled due to a war service related accident, be a paraplegic, or get the Purple Heart Engraved Act.
The final one we're going to talk about today is the Community Preservation Act exemption. A few years ago, back in 2007, the town voted to adopt the Community Preservation Act and establish a 1% real estate surcharge for open space, historic preservation, community housing, and recreation. There is an exemption to this. If you're a Littleton homeowner aged 60 or older, and you meet certain criteria, you can apply for an exemption. And the criteria is the applicant must own and occupy the property as of January 1st of the tax year. At least one owner of the property must be 60 years of age or older as of January 1st. A copy of your birth certificate to show proof of age is required for first-time filers, of course. And you must apply each year to the Board of Assessors. If you were granted the exception in 1 year, you must reapply. And it's the same thing with just about every program.
Every exemption, you really have to do that.
You have to reapply. The applicant's annual gross income for the calendar year, you can see that they're pretty generous. For one person, $104,000, 2 people, $119,000, and so on. 3 people, $134,000. Homeowners under the age of 60 may also qualify for a CPA exemption if your annual gross calendar year household income does not exceed the following limits: 1 person 83, 2 person 95.
And those incomes are everybody's income in the household. So it could be a husband, wife, and a child that's, say, 18 or 19, but making an income, that all gets thrown into that. So it would be the total income in the house.
And there's a deadline to file for this as of April 1st, 2024. So this one is very generous. Granted, the CPA surcharge is a small amount on the tax bill, but still, the exemption is there, and we encourage people to go into any of these programs that
Exactly.
the town has. One of the things that we touched on was the senior work-off program. That's I can't mention how successful that program has been in town. We have so many seniors apply, and we used to have people in our office working, and basically you go in and sit down with EHS and tell them basically what you're interested in, and they try and fit you into your interests.
And what they do is, like, there may be one person that can do the same job. So she does or he does his 100 hours, and then that person comes out and the next person goes in. So if the treasurer needed help filing or whatever, and the woman does her 100 hours and leaves, then you're going to get somebody else in there, and they're going to do the next 100 hours. And it's spread out over almost 10 months of work. So you're not expected to sign up, say I'll do 100 hours, and be there every day until you've done it. If you can't do it, then you just take time off and then come back. The other great thing about that program is there are seniors who really need this and they're not able to work. So we do have, I think there's like right now 8 or 9 seniors who are volunteering, and it's a proxy program. So they work, they put their hours in, and then Liz in EHS doles that money out to someone who can't come in because they're elderly, and they too will get help off their taxes. I mean, it's a dynamic program, and Liz has talked to a lot of people in a lot of other towns, and this program's not successful in these other towns. Most people only have 5 or 10 people working. It's not a big program. This one is just...
It's always been a huge, and it's a huge help for the departments in town also. We just didn't have people doing busy work. I mean, they were doing some nice projects.
Some nice projects, yeah. Right. So, and it's especially like men don't seem to like to apply, but George really needs help. And anything you can do, whether you can paint or do carpentry work or help him out, he loves it because it makes his job a little easier too.
Okay.
So there's a lot to do. You don't have to work in the town hall. You can work in the school department. You can work in light and water. It's, they move you around wherever there's a need. But I want to express that this PowerPoint is going to be put up, just not on my show, but on Facebook and YouTube and on the Littleton website. And then on October 19th, there's going to be a lunch and learn at the multipurpose room. There'll be lunch. This program will be shown again, and people will be there to answer questions. And then again on the 25th, like I said, there'll be a dinner, and we will go through this again. And there'll be someone at all these different activities that will be able to answer your questions. And what we're doing with the assessors is you can talk to them that night, you can take an application, you can make an appointment with them later on. So please feel free to come, enjoy the dinner, and get the information, and we will work with you.
And the most important thing for a lot of people is this information. You apply for these programs. It's not something that's broadcast out to the public. This is confidential between you, the assessors, and sometimes the treasurer's office because of the lien on the deferral. But other than that, there's really nothing that's out in the public. So there's no... I've dealt with a lot of seniors in my role as a treasurer and dealing with back taxes. And there's a lot of people who feel embarrassed. And you shouldn't be.
Not at all.
This is something that it's available to people, and people should take advantage of it. And if there's any reason, if you need to talk to somebody, contact EHS, and they will help.
And I can tell you from working in the assessor's office for as many years as I did, my role was to do the applications on all of these exemptions. And what would happen is the people would come in and they would show me their documentation, and we would fill out the application. And based on the requirements, I would make the decision whether they qualified for the income and assets or not. And if I said they qualified, I took the application to a meeting with the Board of Assessors. The application was upside down, so no board members ever saw who the people were. All they had to do was sign the bottom because I said that they met the requirement. And that's still the case today. April is doing the same thing I did, and she's very cognizant of people being embarrassed and not wanting to give out information, and it's so private. We hope you all take the time to go over this and come and see us, or go to EHS and make an appointment.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming and helping.
I hope this was informative for people.
I do too. And I guess that's the end of highlights today. But I will be back at the beginning of the month to do my regular show.
Thank you.